Dave Doherty.
Here.
Martha Casabon. Pug Lauren. Marcus Hines. Todd Richard. Bernie Willie. Bill Matthews. Jimmy Davis. Dave Manella. Kirk Drum. Ron Randolph. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Public announcements, phones and pagers, please either put them on silent or turn them off. If you disagree with a decision that this commission makes, you have the right to appeal. Appeal cards are on the railing over here to my right. Same thing true with speaker cards. If you wish to speak on any of the issues that are on either agenda, please fill out a speaker card and turn it in to staff, and they will get it up here to us. On each item, we have any public speaking will be 10 minutes for each side, and then there will be a 5-minute rebuttal. Please do not try and talk in the chambers here or go out in the lobby. I realize that the temperatures are going to be dropping and it's quite windy outside, but if you try and talk out in the lobby, the sound still reverberates back into the meeting here. I'll rise for the invocation, Ms. Casabon. Mr. Davis, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Pardon? Okay. Yeah. We have one of our commissioners would like to have the floor for just a moment.
Yes, Mr. Commissioner, thank you. Yesterday was Veterans Day, and in connection with that, I just was curious, do we have any veterans or serving members of the military in our audience tonight? Would you please stand? Thank you very much for your service, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you. All right, in your packet, the October 8th minutes were there, and hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to review them. Are there any corrections or changes that need to be made? I'll accept the motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Ms. Casabon, approve. Second by Mr. Randolph. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Consent calendar, any items not pulled from the consent calendar automatically dispensed by vote as approved and/or as per staff comments. Items pulled from the consent calendar shall be discussed and voted upon individually. Staff, do we have any that you need to have pulled? Any of the commissioners have any that need to be pulled? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented? Moved by Mr. Richard, seconded by Mr. Davis. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we move on over to page 4, final subdivision review. First item is SD 12-04-001, F as in Frank 2, A as in Alpha, Grand Oaks Phase 2A, Ward 1, District 1. The developer owners Trinity Developers, the surveyors Kelly McHugh and Associates Incorporated. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we had sent out a revised agenda to you indicating that Grand Oaks was put on the agenda under preliminary.
All right.
Do you have that now?
No, I didn't see the revised agenda. I probably didn't catch the word revised on it either. Okay. We need to back up, there's another agenda that was sent out by staff. Under preliminary subdivision review, SD 13-06-002P, Audubon Oaks, Ward 3, District 5. The developer owner's three-step investments. Engineer is McLennan and Associates Incorporated. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Marty Gould. This was postponed from the October meeting. Staff?
The preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office and inspections made of the site. It is recommended that preliminary submittal be approved subject to the following. The Department of Engineering is not in agreement with the developer's proposal to connect to Hollycrest Lane in any manner. Tentative approval of the subdivision was granted without this connection. The original traffic study for the subdivision shows this connection is not necessary from a traffic perspective. Traffic study was redone at preliminary application of the subdivision to show this new connection. The updated study shows the intersection US 190 Hollycrest Lane already warrants a right turn lane, which is not in place nor is it proposed. Adding more right turners to this intersection will increase delays on US 190 and increase likelihood of rear-end collisions at the intersection. The original plan approved at tentative requires vehicles proceed north on US 190 to Park Place intersection, which has a right turn lane and signal, making it a safer movement for vehicles. Despite the fact this connection is proposed to be a one-way entering subdivision, it will be impossible to enforce the one-way aspect without having a sheriff stationed at the location at all times. Vehicles wishing to use this connection as an outlet will do so, thus creating potential for head-on collisions. In addition, if vehicles use this connection as an outlet, wish to travel southbound on US 190, they will likely use the traffic signal that is located in the private development adjacent to Hollycrest Lane. As this our current practice among most vehicles wishing to access US 190 southbound from Hollycrest Lane. Parish cannot support the potential of routing of traffic through a private development. The connection to Hollycrest will also introduce possibility of cut-through traffic through the subdivision for motorists that are traveling on US 190 northbound and wish to access the commercial development on Park Place Drive, Falconer Drive, or in the vicinity. If the idea of this connection is for emergency access to the subdivision, the Department of Engineering proposes that the connection be gated and only open in the event of an emergency. The hammerhead turn around is a departure from the standard cul-de-sac required in Ordinance 499. The Department of Engineering has no objection to this turnaround as a proposed waiver if the one-way roadway is approved by the Planning Commission. However, if the Planning Commission does not approve the one-way roadway, a standard cul-de-sac needs to be constructed and the plans revised. The Planning Commission may grant such waivers it deems proper by resolution adopted by not less than 2/3 affirmative vote of the Planning Commission membership. Item C is okay. A funded maintenance obligation in the amount of $10,000 is required in accordance with subdivision 499 for Parish roadways to ensure repair of any damage to Parish roads resulting from construction activity in connection with the subdivision. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with Ordinance 499 since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005.
Plans and specifications for the construction of the project's water distribution lines and sewer collection lines have not yet been approved by the Department of Health and Hospitals as required. No work order will be issued until the submitted plans and specifications are approved by the DHH.
The preliminary draft copy of the Declaration of Covenants and Restrictions should be submitted to this department for review prior to the developer receiving a work order in conjunction with the preliminary subdivision approval process.
Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone on behalf of Step 3 Investments. You'll recall that last month we requested that this matter be tabled because we had an issue with certain drainage facilities in what became known to us as a no-cut buffer. It required us to revise the hydrological study, and last month the staff simply didn't have time to review that. They've now had a chance to review it, and as you can see, the staff comments regarding that item are clean in that there are no issues there. We also discussed last month the issue of this access to Hollycrest Drive, and as I mentioned to you at that time, the developer's position has long been that we are comfortable with whatever decision is made by this group with regards to that connection. We have worked very closely with Councilman Gould. He felt strongly that some type of connection needed to be made. The staff was very concerned about the nature of that connection, as you can see from the comments that were read into the record. I spoke with both Councilman Gould and Mr. Earl Magner of the engineering office today. And they both advised me that they had spoken independently of me, had come to a conclusion that they both felt it was in the best interest that the connection be there, but as staff noted, that it be an emergency connection only and that it be gated. And we are in complete agreement with that proposal and are comfortable with that, and would ask that the commission take that into consideration when making your decision this evening. We would also ask, since we will have the connection there, albeit emergency, that the hammerhead as proposed be allowed. I spoke with Mr. Magner about that item, and he confirmed to me again today that he had no objection whatsoever from an engineering standpoint with that approval. With that said, we would respectfully request your approval of the plan as submitted and with the details that I've described this evening regarding the emergency access and gated access to Hollycrest Boulevard. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Anyone in the audience wish to speak against? All right, I'll close the floor to the public and bring it back to the commission. Mr. Matthews.
Paul, I agreed with Mr. Gould that a exit there is necessary. The idea of having an exit there or access, two-way, one-way, whatever, be there and gated is like not having access. In an emergency, who's got the key? The fire department, I guess, could have a pair of bolt cutters, but if you're trapped in here for some reason and need to get out, the fellow with the key is going to be at work on the South Shore. So by doing that, what you've done is you've created an exit without an exit. Then the idea of saying you don't need a turnaround there because you have the exit, I think is disingenuous on somebody's part, not necessarily yours or your clients, but to say it's okay not to have a turnaround because you have an exit. You don't have an exit. You've got what could be an exit under certain conditions. I think you have to go one way or the other. If you're going to have an exit but have it locked, then you should have a turnaround. If you don't want to turn around, I can understand that. You can probably be losing a couple of lots. Then you need the exit.
Well, I would point out that there is a turnaround there. There's not no turnaround. Rather than a full cul-de-sac, what's proposed is the hammerhead turnaround, which we have done in other locations. In particular, we did it within the last year at the northern end of Autumn Creek. We also did it in Autumn Gardens in several locations. So there will be the ability to turn around there. It won't simply dead end with the right-of-way.
But you won't be able to turn around anything larger than a compact car, basically.
Well, you wouldn't be able to make the turnaround as you would in a cul-de-sac, but you will be able, the hammerhead allows you to pull in, back up, and then turn around. And you would be able to do that with a larger vehicle, particularly with the tie-in. Because remember, the tie-in provides, it doesn't provide access to Hollycrest, but it does provide a 15-foot or 14-foot, paved area that can be used to extend what would otherwise be the hammerhead turnaround. So you'll have more area in this particular case for the turnaround than you would have at Autumn Creek or any of the other areas where we've used this type facility before.
But you're still going to have this several hundred-foot drive down here that vehicles such as, and there will be garbage trucks, are going to have to try to back all the way down here. That's just not a good idea, and I don't see how the traffic people can.
I would disagree that a garbage truck would have to back out. A garbage truck will be able to turn in this turnaround. Again, not in the sense of a cul-de-sac, but they will have the ability to pull in, back into the hammerhead, and then pull around. I believe they'll have that option. I think the hammerhead will serve that purpose. I understand your concern about the lock on the gate. Again, from our standpoint, we're happy with whatever decision is made. I want to repeat that again. We have told both the staff, this commission, and Mr. Gould that we will be happy to do whatever is decided in that regard. The compromise position of the locked gate and used for emergency purposes, we were advised that we would have to contact the local fire department which I believe is located in North Park across Highway 190, and provide them a key and means of access, which we're certainly happy to do. Is that a perfect scenario? No, there can be issues there where that may not work just perfectly, but it at least gives some other method by which you can get in and out of this development if there is an emergency situation at some point in the future.
Well, only to somebody like the fire department. The
Correct.
people inside are the people that have to worry about trying to get out. The fire department's gonna have a bolt cutter. They'll be in 30 seconds. The police department will come through the other side. But the people that are trapped in here, if there's something going on Andrew Drive, then they're trapped. Unless they can find the guy with the key or run over to Home Depot and get a bolt cutter. It just doesn't seem like that's a solution at all, and I'm very much against that.
Mr. Davis?
Yeah, Paul, getting back to the gate again. So the mission is to have just one way in only? According to this on the plat, it says one way in, so there's only going to be one way either out to Hollycrest Drive or from Hollycrest Drive in?
No, the access is and has always been from zoning through tentative and up to this point through Andrews Drive, through Park Place to Andrew Drive.
Right.
There was a suggestion that we make the connection to Hollycrest.
Okay.
And Andrew Drive
case
is
you-
still there.
Right, but just in case you have to exit, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, then the gate at Hollycrest Drive, why can't it be electronic and only open one way to exit? That way, when the car comes up, it opens and you're out. And there's no way it'll open back trying and coming in.
That's certainly a possibility.
Wouldn't that take care of the problem? You never have to be locked because you'll have a gate anyway. And then when the cars try to exit down Tiger Avenue and they get up to the fence, the electronic signal will lift it up and allow the cars to exit down Hollycrest.
That makes sense. I guess I'm a little bit at a disadvantage because I wasn't in the meeting where this proposal was worked out.
I'm asking, would that work or?
I think it would be a violation of state law. My understanding is you can't have a gate on a public road, and this is intended to be a public road, that's my understanding.
Then we can't have a gate at all?
Can't have, well, I mean, you're talking about a gate that opens and closes.
No, you're talking about a gate.
Well,
The-
all
I don't-
gates
I
open
don't
and
know.
close.
I don't think that it was intended that the portion where the gate is beyond the hammerhead would be dedicated, since the gate is being proposed. That was my understanding when I was told that they had worked out an agreement on the gate. That Andrew Drive, up and until the hammerhead turnaround would be, but the final connection point from the end of that to Hollycrest would not be dedicated. That was my understanding.
Another problem would be that you're dumping traffic through a light on a private development. Because what people will effectively be doing, and that creates a problem for us.
I'm a little lost now.
Let me explain when I,
Mr. Richard.
Ms. Casbah?
No, Mr. Richard was first.
thank you. I was there today, and it is a tough situation regardless. Having a gate there or having any access there on Hollycrest is going to create a problem. If we dump 150 cars out onto that road, in reality, we're sending them through a shopping center, because that's where the light is, right there where off-track bedding is. And you're going to have a line of cars moving through that shopping center to have access to a red light. And it's actually, and I'm sure staff has looked at this, it's not ideal. It's not, I mean, that was there in advance, that's been there a long time. It's not the best plan for us, but if we have access off of this road, it's going to create a lot of traffic in a private parking lot. So I don't understand if it's, why we need to have access at all. We're talking about emergency access, we're talking about a gate that should be or could be locked. Maybe this is a compromise. I have no problem with the hammerhead.
Right.
It's 100 feet. It's not ideal, but it would be a good compromise. I have a bigger problem with the gate and traffic flowing on the Hollycrest.
Okay. Mr. Matthews?
Well, Scott, I mean, The problem that we have faced for many years is we don't like subdivisions with a single entrance. It is not practical. We have a lot of them, but we don't like them anymore. That's the staff and the council and everybody has kind of agreed, where you have a situation where you can have more than one entrance, it's better. That's one of the problems. This hammerhead is better than nothing, but if we're not gonna have access or ingress and egress there, then you really need a turnaround. So you gotta go one or two ways. Either grant the access or let's do a turnaround. And I don't like the idea of having just the one entrance anyway. That's the problem.
Ms. Casabon?
Yes, we've developed many subdivisions with this particular access, emergency, something catastrophic that you couldn't get out, that my point is that we know this is something that somebody's not going to build in front of that cannot be accessed. We have lots of subdivisions like this, we put them in, but there have been in areas that were a little bit not as dense as this particular area is. And they've been more toward, Madisonville, those areas that we still did not want, just one entrance, but we know we have an emergency entrance. In this case, as Mr. Richard said, it's the density and where the cars are going and where the outlet's going to be. I don't have a problem. I think the hammerhead is sufficient for this size subdivision at this point, that we know that a vehicle can turn around, whether it's the garbage truck or fire truck or whatever. If, in the event, if I had to get out of a place, I could use my car, I'd get through that gate somehow. But, I think we're dwelling on this, and it's been worked over. I feel like following staff's comments, and I agree with Mr. Richard. So if he wanted to make a...
Todd, you have,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Matthews?
Yep. There's not gonna be a gate with what you are proposing. I mean, you couldn't use your car to get,
I make a motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Okay, we have a motion to approve per staff comments. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Lauren.
Mr.
Any
Chairman,
que-
just for clarity, does that include the waiver for the hammerhead?
Any further discussion? Please vote. All right, this is without the second exit, right? This is without the second exit, right? Okay. So my vote is for. That makes 8 yes and 2 nay. So the motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I just get clarity again? That was approval of the turnaround, but with the gate or with no connection whatsoever to Holly
No
Crest?
connection.
Thank you.
We're all clear on that now, right? Okay. All right. Now, we'll go back to final subdivision review, SD 12-04-001 F2A. Grand Oaks, Phase 2A, Ward 1, District 1, developers Trinity Developers, surveyors Kelly McEwen Associates, Parish Council District Representatives Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction. The final inspection was made on October 22nd, 2013. The inspection disclosed that all asphalt roads are constructed, road shoulders are constructed, and the roadside ditches are functioning. The following uncompleted items exist at the time of final inspection. Need asphalt test results. B is okay. C is okay. Need 911 addresses on all lots on the subdivision plat. E is okay. Street name signs are needed, traffic signs are needed, blue reflectors are needed. An as-built signage plan is needed with the following information. The distance between the edge of shoulder and the edge of all signs is 2 feet. The distance from the edge of roadway and the underside of all signs is not less than 7 feet. Add the following note to the as-built signage plan. All signage shall be type 3 high-intensity retroreflective in accordance with MUTCD guidelines. All signage shall conform to all MUTCD and parish requirements. Street name signs must be yellow lettering on blue background. Right now, they have some temporary signs that don't meet those color requirements. The developer's engineer will certify that all signage has been installed in accordance with the latest MUTCD and St. Tony Parish requirements. A hydrologic study did not show off-site drainage entering the subdivision from the east. Construction inspections and complaints have made apparent there's a limited amount of water naturally draining from the east into the subdivision. The drainage must be accounted for in a revised plan prior to the plats being signed. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required in the amount of $36,900 for a period of 5 years. The staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments, and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. Mandatory developmental fees are as follows. Road impact fee, $44,157. Drainage impact fee, $45,674. Fees are due prior to subdivision plats being signed.
A negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system has not been issued as required by Section 4007 of the Subdivision Regulatory Ordinance 499. A letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system has not been issued by the utility provider as required. Staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments, and no plats are to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed.
Thank you. Mr. Rome.
Thank you, Mr. Daugherty. Paul Marone again on behalf of Trinity Developers. An update to the punch list items. Based on the engineer's review of the project today, I believe that the only items that remain outstanding are the asphalt tests, which we should have shortly, the 911 addresses being placed on the plat. That's just a matter of getting that from the 911 director here with the parish, and the blue reflectors needing to be installed. All the other items, as per the letter of Mr. McHugh, our engineer today, have been completed. And that includes addressing item K with regards to the off-site drainage. A meeting was held this afternoon at site between the developer, Mr. McHugh, and the engineering staff, and they reviewed the plan, they reviewed the project and the concern, and in fact, the issue complained of in the staff comments about the original hydrological plan not showing the off-site drainage was an error, that in fact it was on there. And that in fact the plan, or excuse me, the subdivision had been constructed in accordance with those plans. There was concern, and there is concern from the adjacent landowner about making sure that the water flows properly post-construction on our side. In looking at the property today, it was decided that we would establish drainage servitudes along the back of some of the lots that abut the neighbor's property. This drainage servitude will then help facilitate the water to get from the neighbor's property into our green space, which then puts it into the rest of our drainage system, and should alleviate any concerns about water not flowing properly or backing up. So Mr. Magner and Mr. McHugh looked at that, they discussed that proposal. The developer was there, agreed to that proposal, and that will be done, and that will be done. The servitudes will be established before the plats are signed. With that said, I'd be happy to answer any other questions that the commission may have, but we would respectfully request approval of final for this phase of Grand Oaks.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Anyone else wish to speak for this? Does anyone wish to speak against this? Please come forward and state your name and address and fill out a speaker card. Come up to the mic, please.
Hearing. Mr. Garza.
Okay, I'm the guy that lives next door to the property.
Okay, your name, please.
John Orazio.
Okay.
Mr. Razzio, did you, I knew you have some hearing. Did you understand what the developer just said about, this is the man that had the complaint that they went out. He's the neighbor.
Yes,
He
they-
has a letter stating, and what we just said, this has been taken care of. The developer is going to do a drainage servitude that your property will not be affected. So that letter, the developer has agreed to that, okay?
Okay.
All right.
But I noticed that they said drain from my property. The runoff is coming from where they filled in that property because that was wetlands. It's was filled in and it's coming from their property. The existing drainage ditches running from north to south were filled in, and the ones coming in at an angle from the northeast to the northwest were also filled in. I don't think it was the developer's intention, but I think the construction people just did that.
Okay, we'll let staff, this is our engineer. If you
Yeah,
can
I know
explain-
him. He come
okay,
out to the house.
Explain what's happening.
Okay, what the current plan is, Earl Magner and Kelly McHugh, the developer's engineer and our subdivision engineer met out there this afternoon. And basically what's needed is a swell ditch in a 10-foot private servitude along the back of some of those lots to capture the water and send it through the green space about where we stood when we crossed under the fence by your property. We were standing near that green space area, if not on it. They're gonna run the water, through that into the roadside ditch and capture it that way.
Okay, I guess that's a good plan, as long as the water stops coming across, But this man here and Mr. Earl were the most helpful people I made contact with the issue. And I had been calling my councilman since the 2nd of August and never heard from him. I
Well,
think it's
he's not an
788.
engineer, so he probably couldn't have helped you on that.
These
So
people were
they
very
helped
good.
you,
This
so-
man was very good, and I want to thank him for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Razzio, you have any other comment?
Yes.
Anybody else?
Mr. Morone?
If I could just follow up, just to be clear, the servitudes will capture the water from both directions. He's concerned about the water coming from this property into his property. That drainage ditch along the back of our lots will catch that water, any water trying to flow to him, and route it to the green space. It'll also catch his water and make sure that it gets into the system and into the green space and wetlands where it's trying to go now. So it will work going both ways.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone
Just some
else wish to
clarification.
speak on this? I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Ms. Casabon.
I think this issue taken care of, and I'll make a motion to approve, subject to all staff comments.
We have a motion to approve, second by Ms. Casabon, seconded by Mr. Lauren. Ron, you,
I had a question
okay,
for Mr. Morone.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarity, all of the items that were uncompleted, you're saying that all are complete except A, which is the asphalting, and the blue reflectors,
Yes, and item D, the 911 addresses.
and D.
Okay. And Mr. McHugh did tell me that there are some of the signs that are not put up as well.
Okay.
He corrected me from earlier.
Now, which signs, the traffic signs or the street name sign?
Traffic.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is SD 06-08-027F3, Rayford Oaks, Ward 1, District 1. Developer owner Rayford Oaks LLC. Engineer Scalfano Engineering. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Marty Dean. Pat?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction. The final inspection was made on October 22nd, 2013. The inspection disclosed all asphalt roads are constructed, road shoulders are constructed, and the roadside ditches are functioning. The following uncompleted items exist at the time of final inspection. 2A, B, and C are okay. D is okay. Developer signatures needed on the subdivision plat. Street name signs are needed. Traffic signs are needed. Blue reflectors are needed. A revised signage plan is needed with the following information. The distance between the edge of the shoulder and the edge of all streets, of all signs is 2 feet. 2 and 3 are okay. All signage shall be of type 3 high-intensity retroreflective in accordance with MUTC guidelines. All signage shall conform to all MUTCD and Parish requirements. Street name signs must be yellow lettering on blue background. The developer's engineer will certify that all signage has been installed in accordance with the latest MUTCD and St. Tony Parish requirements. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required of $70,400 for a period of 5 years. The staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to developer complying with all comments. No plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. Mandatory developmental fees are as follows. Road impact fee, $59,235. Drainage impact fee, $61,270. Fees are due before subdivision plats can be signed.
A letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system has not been issued by the utility provider as required. Staff recommends approval of the final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments, and no plats are to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed.
Jay, you have the bacteriological report on this one?
Yeah, we received that today.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon.
Hi, how you doing?
All right.
David Scalfano with Scalfano Engineer here to answer any questions we may have.
Okay.
We're working with a utility company. We have that punch list down to 1 or 2 items.
Okay.
Some meter boxes need to be delivered to their
All right.
maintenance facility, but I think we're real close on that.
Okay.
And
Does
we-
anyone in the audience wish to speak against final approval on Rayford Oaks? Okay, David, I don't think we have anybody speaking against, so I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Mr. Davis.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Davis to approve, seconded by Mr. Randolph. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you, David.
Thank y'all.
Old business, SD 06-05-016, Ashton Park, Ward 8, District 8. Developer owner is Azalea Lakes Partnership. Surveyors Benchmark Group LLC. Parish Council District Representatives, the Honorable Chris Canulette. This was to amend the master plan. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is, of course, the subdivision phase that will deal with the amendments to the master tentative subdivision plan for Ashton Park. The major changes to the zoning or the PUD will be dealt with at the next meeting by Ms. Lambert. The original developer of the subdivision, Leon Lowe and Sons Incorporated, received tentative subdivision approval from the Planning Commission back in May of 2006 for a total of 402 lots/units. Since then, the subdivision development was sold to the current developer, Azalea Lakes Partnership, whom received final subdivision approval and recorded plats for Filing 1, Part 1, a total of 73 lots located in the northwest corner of the development, and for Filing 1, Part 2, totaling 44 lots located just to the east of that phase. The current developer is now requesting the commission to approve amendments to the original tentative subdivision plat. A copy of the original and proposed amendments to the tentative subdivision plat were attached for your review. Highlights of the proposed amendments to the tentative subdivision plat are as follows. The total number of lots have been reduced from 402 to 390. Garden homes and condominium lot sites have been removed from the development in favor of larger size single-family lots ranging in width from 50 feet to 80 feet. There are some significant realignments to the streets and lot configurations, but nothing of major concern, just some major changes. The linear length of streets have been reduced by approximately 3,000 feet. Some green space and amenities have been altered and relocated within this development, and again, these issues will be reviewed by the Zoning Commission. The area depicted on the revised plat is future Phase 6, and on the original tentative plat is lots under construction. So the plat needs to reflect that it is being used for detention or retention and not for lots. Some street names have been altered and have been reviewed by our 911 addressing officer to his satisfaction. The staff has no objections to the proposed amendments to the tenant subdivision plat. Engineering has a few comments.
3 dead-end streets are indicated on the drawing. Dead-end streets are not allowed pursuant to parish code. Detention requirements must be reviewed and approved at the time of preliminary submittal. A clarification of note 3 is needed. The staff has no objections to proposed amendments to the subdivision plat subject to the developer complying with the staff comments.
All right, let's see, we don't have any environmental services on this one. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I'm Pat McElroy with the Azalea Lakes Partnership. The request before you is an amendment to the tentative plan. We are very grateful, Ron and Helen, for all your assistance. Thank you for helping us with this particular plan, and then certainly with the amendment to come before the Zoning Commission a little bit later on. As Ron has mentioned, what is read into the staff comments, we are in agreement on. With regard to the Department of Engineering, the 3 dead-end streets, let's look at those if we may. This is just a continuation from the approved PUD plan that we'd gotten approved back in '06. So the one that feeds into the soccer fields, that is intended to connect to the soccer fields when the soccer folks are ready to construct the soccer fields. The other that is off of Deer Park, that is feeding into a landlocked area that we have to provide access through our subdivision to that landlocked area. That is dedicated already by the parish, just not constructed. So that is a dedicated street already, just not constructed. And then the third one that feeds into Ashton Oaks is also a dedicated street, just not constructed. So technically, those are not dead-end streets.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Ron?
And then, Paul, I don't understand your comment about clarification of note number 3 is needed. I'm not certain what note number 3 meant. And is that where we talk about no noxious or offensive action under restrictive covenants?
It wasn't my comment. I see there's a spelling mistake on number 3.
Yes, sir. I got on the person that needs to learn how to spell. That wasn't me.
Computers just didn't handle it, huh?
Maybe what it should read,
Bring the mic around.
maybe we left out the word carried out upon. Is that maybe what y'all picked up on? So it should read, and I brought this from one of our approved subdivisions in Ashton Park, should I say? Maybe it should read, no noxious or offensive action shall be carried out upon any lot. I think we left the word out. Nor shall anything be done thereon which may become an annoyance or nuisance.
I'll ask Earl Magner to contact you
Okay.
to discuss.
I think if that's what we're speaking of, that's an easy fix.
Regarding the dead-end issues, this is a tentative plat, not preliminary or final, so I would suggest they simply indicate at the end of these dead-end streets as a temporary turnaround, and then at time of preliminary, those issues can be worked out.
All right. Mr. McElroy, you in agreement with that?
So, Ron, just as clarification, where we go into the soccer, you want a temporary cul-de-sac?
No, all you have to do is, you just have to label it as a temporary turnaround for when you get into preliminary.
Okay.
Those issues can be resolved. Either you can do a temporary turnaround at preliminary, or you can do a through, or a cul-de-sac, whatever you want to do. But for now,
We'll address that at preliminary.
yeah, but we just need to have it indicated there's some type of a potential turnaround there, since it's not a through street.
Got you covered. We're good.
All right. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item on the agenda, either for or against? All right, I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Any commissioner wish to have any questions on this? I'll look for Mr. Matthews.
Make a motion to approve, subject to the staff comments, and in particular, Mr. Ron's comment about the dead-end streets.
With the
Change.
temporary turn, right.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Matthews, seconded by Mr. Davis. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. McElroy.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you back at the zoning.
Yeah, we're gonna have so much fun tonight.
I brought my sleeping bag and my pillow.
Going clear. All right, the next item is entering parish right-of-way, Magnolia Drive, Ward 1, District 1. Request to enter the parish right-of-way for the purpose of gaining access to property. The petitioners Nicole and Robert Harris are assignee. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Marty Dean. It's a request for extension of time. Staff?
Reference is made to action taken by the commission at the October 15, 2013 meeting requirements and requiring Mr. and Mrs. Robert Harris to provide you with a detailed explanation as to the need for the extension of the above captioned project. Attaches a copy of our letter dated October 16th to them, along with a copy of their reply dated October 30th. As you can see, to sum it up, what they say is they're working on a wetland permit, and that's the need for the delay.
Okay. Are the Harrises here? All right. No one in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay, I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Mr. Matthews.
Paul, are you seeing this email, I guess, that they sent, says that they're working on a wetlands permit?
Yeah,
see that.
Earl talked to them, and that's what they told him, is they're working on a wetlands permit. They found wetlands on the property, and until they can permit the wetlands, they can't do the work.
Okay, because I didn't see that in the letter, and I didn't think they needed 6 months, but if they're working on a wetlands permit, they surely need 6 months. I move to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Matthews to approve, seconded by Mr. Richard. Please vote.
I have a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are we approving an additional 3 months to the original 6 months that was requested the first time? Or are we extending this another 6 months?
I think my motion would be to extend an additional 6 months.
Okay.
Okay. You all right with that, Jimmy? Yeah. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. That completes the Planning Commission agenda. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion to adjourn. Thank you. We're going to take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll start on the zoning.